Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm so glad you're here. On this channel, I talk about news, controversies, and drama on the bookish side of the internet, and I certainly hope you will stick around. Today we've got another company trying to cut corners and maximize profit at the expense of trained professionals. I posted a while back about Audible requiring authors to opt out of having their books narrated by an AI voice, and now we're talking about translators. The imprint Harlequin of the publisher HarperCollins France is going to start using AI to translate their works and has been ending contracts with their current translators. So this is a statement from the Association of Literary Translators of France. Obviously, this is translated because it was originally in French. Dear members, for the past few weeks, dozens of translators who regularly work with Harlequin, HarperCollins France, have been receiving phone calls informing them that their collaboration with the publishing house is ending. Their current contracts will be their last. Collection by collection, Harlequin is abandoning translation. An external service provider, the communications agency Fluent Planet, will handle running the text through machine translation software and directly recruit freelance proofreaders to post-edit the machine-generated French output. The stated objective is to increase profitability by reducing working time. To our knowledge, this is the first time in France that a publishing house has moved onto a large scale to machine translation and post-editing, moreover by outsourcing this activity. Therefore, does it still deserve the name publishing house? Such practices are unacceptable. People, sometimes longtime collaborators of the publishing house, suddenly lose a regular source of income offered as compensation only the possibility, without any guarantee, moreover, of working at a reduced rate for an external provider, Fluent Planet, instead of translating for a publishing house. This is a prospect that many of the translators affected refuse to accept. To cease working with us, artists and authors, no dismissal or notice period is required, even if the collaboration has been regular for 5, 10, or even 20 years. The reality of the sudden loss of work and income remains nonetheless. We are bearing the brunt of the extreme precariousness of our situation as artists and authors. We have no right to unemployment benefits, and some of those affected, nearing retirement age, will not even be able to count on a decent pension due to the AGESSA's failure to collect contributions. I looked up what that was and now I forget, so hold on. Okay, yeah, it's essentially a social security type program in France. In these circumstances, we as a profession must collectively stand up against what amounts to an invisible social plan. These practices are a betrayal of book workers, but also a betrayal of readers. They completely devalue the translation industry, showing contempt for both translators and readers. They set in motion a downward spiral of publishing quality driven by a harmful good enough mentality that robs book workers of their expertise and creativity, and deprives readers of access to vibrant and humane literature. Bookworkers, publishing house directors, readers, let us refuse to let machine translation gain a foothold in publishing houses and reaffirm our unconditional commitment to human texts created by human beings in dignified working conditions. Many other associations have shown their support as well, so right out the gates, this is a bad look. Reducing a translator's job to simply rewriting a work in another language is insulting. In the simplest of terms, sure, I guess that's what they do, but if you want the book to actually make sense and be readable, never mind delivering nuance and flow, translators are an essential part of the process. So here I took an example from Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, and I know this is not exactly how it would operate, but this is kind of a way I could show an example. So on Google Translate, I took this line and translated into French. They crossed a vast dry lake with rows of dead volcanoes, ranged beyond it like the works of enormous insects. And I don't speak French, so this is the translation that it gave me. And then I took that French and translated it back to English, where it says, they crossed a vast dried up lake, beyond which stretched rows of extinct volcanoes, resembling the constructions of gigantic insects. So, yes, do these essentially mean the same thing? Yes. But I would quickly DNF a book full of such, stilted and awkward language. Author Tiffany McDaniel made a fantastic Instagram post going into details and explaining a bit more how this affects not just translators, but authors and readers as well. I saw this on Talia Hibbert's Instagram first and screenshotted it, like before I realized it was a repost, but this was all originally written by Tiffany McDaniel. Harlequin in France has replaced translators with AI. Harlequin France, owned by HarperCollins, recently informed translators with long-established working relationships, some of whom have worked for the publisher for more than 30 years, that their services were no longer needed, citing a shift to automated AI translation. According to French news reports, 10 Harlequin novels have been translated by artificial intelligence over the past several weeks. This is a warning sign for the entire industry. With Harlequin under HarperCollins, one of publishing's giants, this should be seen as a test in the market and not an isolated case. While Harlequin cuts costs by getting rid of human translators, they're not cutting their prices. French readers will pay the same, only now for AI-generated translations. Romance may be the first genre targeted, but it won't be the last. If we stay silent, AI translation will spread across every corner of the industry. It's time to draw a line. This affects all readers, translators, and authors. It's a slippery slope, and once a publisher normalizes it, it changes books and the way we read them forever. So what can we do? If you're an author, make sure you have a no AI clause in your contracts, including for translation. Translators are writers, and we have to protect each other. A clause ensures that your translation publisher cannot use AI to translate your book, and that they must use a human translator. I have these clauses in my contracts because I don't want to see a future where human translators are replaced by AI. If you're a reader, speak with your money. Don't buy from publishers who are replacing their workforce with AI. Let them know that you don't want to read AI slop. Email the imprint and their parent company to make sure you're getting the message across. Tag Harlequin and HarperCollins into posts on social media, and let them know that you refuse to read machine-made books and refuse to back companies that treat people as expendable. Publishers should know that if they get rid of human writers, they lose human readers. Translators are not just replacing word for word in a book. They move between languages and bring their own voice, culture, memory, and lived experiences into their writing. It is because of translators that stories travel from country to country, border to border. Translators build the boat to sail the story across the high seas. They bring the wood for the bridge between continents. They fill the sky with their own words for stars, so all readers can understand, feel, and live the story. If not for human translators of my books, Betty would not have found a home in France. The summer that melted everything would not have traveled from Ohio to Italy. On the Savage Side would not have felt the Spanish sun, and the Wand Keepers would not be casting spells in Japanese. Those are all titles of her books. Every generation has wanted to tell stories, and as readers, we have craved to journey alongside them. But if we don't make it clear that AI shouldn't be telling our stories, then the future will be written without us, and all the stories will just be static in the noise of a machine. Writers create national literature with their language, but world literature is written by translators, and that is a quote from Jose Saramago, 1998 Nobel laureate in literature, whose works have been translated from Portuguese into dozens of others. And here are a few of the comments on that post. So this one has tagged Harlequin Books and HarperCollins. I suggest you read Babel by R.F. Kuang, as her book perfectly highlights the nuance of language. Not only are you rewarding hard work and loyalty with unemployment, but you're also undermining the work of your authors and assuming we don't choose our words with care. Anyone associated with HarperCollins, please inquire, challenge, and speak up about this. Another comment that says, "This is so sad. I feel so cheated as a reader. Why will they do this to us?" This is going to be a hot mess express. Big yikes. Your point about translation being more than just about words is key. Translators bring life to books, making sure that the true meaning gets through for readers. There are enough incredibly independent authors who are staunchly anti-AI, like myself, that we never need to buy another book from HarperCollins and Harlequin Books if they choose not to treat their readers, translators, and authors with the respect they deserve, and we deserve better than AI slop from them. It was mentioned in this post that romance is just the first genre targeted, and if you ask me, that's by design. Romance is having a moment, and I know I don't need to tell you guys that, and with Book Talk having such a huge romance community, it feels like the decision makers at Harlequin France know that non-English speaking readers are going to want translated versions of the books they hear so much about. And of course, it's a genre dominated by women. So unless it's widely discussed that they will be using AI, people are going to be spending their money on AI trashola. So, from a Reddit post on the subject, I want to read a few of the comments. I work with translators for my job, and we trialed AI translation last year. There was a deliberate typo in a document to see what it would do. It was German, but basically it said arm instead of Raum, R-A-U-M. But from context, it was an obvious typo. Arm means, well, arm in English, also poor but irrelevant here. Anyway, all the AI trials kept it as arm and basically promised that every product will come with no dead arm instead of no dead space. Someone says, I'm happy to know that all your products will come with an arm that's assuredly not dead. It's important to have a good, healthy arm. Someone else says, if AI translation gets better over the next year or two and stops making blunders like that, would you reconsider using it? What sort of trial, if any, would make you say, okay, let's go ahead with AI? And this person speaks for a lot of us, I think, when they say there's no scenario in which AI will be useful for translation, as writing style is so deeply influenced by the individual that it 100% requires a human to be able to understand the feeling and emotions that are trying to be conveyed. Even then, it's not a perfect science, as is witnessed by translations of Greek classics and the like. It's something that AI will never be able to accomplish because it requires genuine thought and feeling and not just predictive capability. Totally agree. AI has no business in any creative field, and that's ignoring the environmental implications that go along with it. So this top comment, this is kind of weird, but the top comment reminds me of when the employees from The Office read the script from Threat Level Midnight, and it's clear Michael did like a search and replace with Samuel L. Chang replacing the name Dwight.
Samuel, you are such an idiot. You are the worst assistant ever, and you're disgusting. Twigged? Wait, who's twigged?
But then one time there was a typo that got left in. If you don't know that reference, just ignore this because it's kind of a stretch anyways. But basically, I can make an Office reference out of anything. Sure. The company Harlequin will be outsourcing to do the translating is called Fluent Planet. They are based in Bordeaux, France, and this is their mission statement. Promote intercultural and inclusive communication. At Fluent Planet, we break down communication barriers through an inclusive approach, combining human expertise with cutting-edge technological innovation. Our commitments: provide tailored language services, develop solutions to optimize translation, promote inclusion through AI, ensure personalized support from a dedicated project manager. Our hybrid approach guarantees quality, speed, and accessibility with technology serving the expertise of our team. They do offer quite a few services outside of written translation and proofreading. They advertise interpreting as well as accessibility services like subtitling and transcription. This is what their website says about their AI technology. Human/technology, the perfect match. All our translators are professionals who either studied at the best translation universities or have decades of experience under their belt. They work exclusively into their native language. To further maximize their expertise, they have access to cutting-edge technology, including our very own translation agent, for example, Brian. When compared to standard machine translation systems that use neural networks, Brian can provide 2 to 3 times higher quality translations that are more accurate, offer idiomatic phrasing, provide a deeper understanding of the meaning, and a faithful representation of the style and emotions of the source text. Brian takes into account the author's tone and intention, making it highly effective for complex literary or marketing content. However, the human touch remains essential in ensuring a flawless translation of the highest quality. So that last sentence would lead me to believe that, they're not okay with AI, and yet here we are. I want to read a bit of a post from their website's blog. In recent weeks, the use of artificial intelligence in literary translation has sparked strong reactions. The concern expressed by many translators are legitimate and deserve to be heard, but they should not obscure the essential point. Too often, the current debate relies on false oppositions, when the reality is more complex, more nuanced, and far more urgent. The question is not whether one should be for or against artificial intelligence. The real question is how it is used, by whom, and under what responsibility. 1. A transformation is already underway. Translation is one of the first intellectual professions to be deeply impacted by AI. For several years, companies and institutions have increasingly relied on automated translation tools used directly, often without communication, transparency, or systematic human oversight. This silent shift has already led to a significant reduction in work volumes entrusted to professional translators. This transformation is not the result of isolated editorial decisions. It stems from the widespread and often uncoordinated adoption of automated tools used without qualified human intervention. This is where the real issue lies. Disagree. I'm going to skip to one more part of it. Human responsibility as the dividing line. At Fluent Planet, we have made a clear choice. No text is delivered without qualified human intervention, and translators always retain responsibility for the final output. Our translation assistance tools are designed to support linguists in their work, strengthen consistency, and improve efficiency, never to replace human expertise or editorial judgment. This choice is neither technophile nor conservative, it is pragmatic. I'll link the rest of the article so you can read it if you would like to in its entirety. So in theory, sure, if you are pro-AI, this viewpoint makes sense, right? Like AI does the bulk of the work, then human translators go through and fix mistakes. But here's where they really lose me. Why do this at all when humans could do it better from the beginning? My strong speculation is that with their self-reported 3,000 plus translators and interpreters that are obviously freelancers, they don't need to pay them as much. And that is what it all comes down to at the end of the day. And yet another reason why so many people, myself included, are staunchly against AI. Highly skilled professionals are losing their income simply for a company to save a few bucks at the expense of a quality product. And I don't care how much they insist that their AI isn't removing the human touch. I will never believe it when they are literally taking jobs away from translators and reducing them to copy editors. And that is in no way meant to disrespect copy editors. It's just a different job. So as mentioned in the screenshot I just read, the AI technology they use is called Brian, except that I can't find one single thing about it outside of this one mention. But what's interesting is when you scroll down the page and click on their YouTube link, it takes you to a page for a product called Newcomer, which is apparently the 100% AI voice translation solution. And lucky for us, they have a 1-minute video to introduce the technology, which really gives some big Skynet energy. So let's go back and look at the description on their YouTube page. It says, it is a web app to be launched from a standard browser on any type of computer, tablet, or smartphone, which allows an audience on-site and remotely in hybrid mode to follow the meeting in their language from your own smartphone. Newcomer was designed as an ecosystem in which we can independently carry out all kinds of operations aimed at saving time. Example, for a 2-hour conference, the speaker speaks in English. All his words will be translated simultaneously into 5 languages: French, Spanish, German, Chinese, and Japanese. The 500 people attending the conference, on-site or remotely, will be able, from their smartphone or computer, to read and or listen to the conference in their language. At the end of the conference, in a first click, the speaker can generate the complete verbatim version of the conference and make it available in the 6 languages, then with a second click in less than 5 seconds, a faithful 1-page summary of the conference in the same languages. Now, call me crazy, but this does not have the feel of being written by a human. And I absolutely understand that this is a French company, so that like the English might feel a little imperfect, but this is a translator company. If this is an indication of the work they produce, I don't see how Harlequin can possibly think this is a good idea. To be clear, I am using a bit of deductive reasoning here, and I am in no way claiming that it is like 100% fact, 100% certain that Harlequin will be contracting Newcomer through Fluent Planet if they are in fact different things, but that is what my amateur investigative skills have led me to believe. So we're hearing about this happening in fiction, but a little under a year ago, a UK-based publisher called Taylor and Francis started using AI to translate books into English. And to be honest, this is actually scarier because Taylor and Francis is a publisher of academic journals, textbooks, and other professional reference materials. This feels terribly risky. Like, Can you imagine being highly esteemed in your field and citing something from an academic text translated by AI and being dead ass wrong? This article from Publishers Weekly quotes part of their press release. So I'm just going to start here. Taylor and Francis has a proud history of making outstanding books available in English for an international readership, said Jeremy North, Taylor and Francis Books managing director, in a statement. Our China Perspective series is a good example of this, which now includes over 350 titles by leading Chinese scholars. However, we have always been aware that our translations program represented just the tip of the iceberg, which is why we were keen to explore whether AI could help. The move will allow the publisher to increase its range of translated files published under its CRC Press and Routledge imprints across various fields. All AI translated manuscripts will undergo copy editing and review by TNF editors and the book's authors before publication, and will typically be published in print and ebook editions. The publisher will accept work in over 30 languages and use comprehensive glossaries to train the AI on technical terminology to maintain accuracy of meaning. I am all for accessibility and making things more readily available to all, but I don't think this is the way. By taking the human element of translation away, even if they claim they aren't, a novel is no longer the novel it was in its original language. And I can only speak for myself, but as a monolingual person, it would really detract from the reading experience to be given a watered down version of a book just to get my hands on it quicker. Trust me, I understand the desire for instant gratification, but this is a place where patience results in a far superior end result. It's like not even comparable. So let's just say for fun that AI actually could translate novels well and with the nuance and emotions intact. We've now just eliminated a job that takes an incredible amount of passion, education, and time to learn, let alone to actually be good at. And that is an incredibly slippery slope to head down, particularly in an industry that places such a high value on creativity and originality. Imagine what has the potential to happen in scientific fields if this can so easily happen with humanities. Like, are we going to get to a place where doctors are just there to like supervise surgeries while they let like robots do the actual labor and get paid a fraction of their previous salaries? Because if this is the path we fall down, there won't be jobs left. And while, yes, I know I am getting a little extremist and like borderline conspiracy theorist, I guess, I don't know. But that's just the way I see things going if we stop placing value on things that only humans can do well. So author Tiffany McDaniel, whose post I showed earlier, has been really outspoken in her defense of translators. So I want to share another post that she made. HarperCollins revenue in 2025. $2.15 billion. Their offer to translators? 3 cents a word. Harlequin, owned by Harper, along with Fluent Planet, the company who is now handling the AI translations, offered the former translators the opportunity to be post-editors, fixing the mistakes that the AI makes in the translation. Their pay for this? 3 cents per word. According to French news outlet Actualite, I probably said that wrong, Fluent Planet offered translators the option of becoming self-employed, thus losing their status as artists and authors. HarperCollins, billions in revenue. Translators, 3 cents per word. This isn't about cutting costs, it's about maximizing profit by shrinking labor and replacing it with AI. In response to the backlash from readers, Fluent Planet has pivoted to calling this a hybrid model, attempting to reframe the narrative. Let's be clear, nothing has changed. Translators, some with 30-year working relationships with the publisher, has still lost their contracts. AI still comes out on top. To make it worse, offering the translators 3 cents to edit AI slop is turning the translator's craft into correcting mistakes. Never forget, hybrid today becomes AI takeover tomorrow. Ever heard the phrase, give them an inch and they'll take a mile? That's what we're up against. This isn't HarperCollins' first AI controversy. They had an agreement with a major tech company whose name has not been revealed. This agreement authorized the use of HarperCollins books for training generative AI. Their relationship with AI didn't end there. They made a partnership with 11 Labs, a startup specializing in ultra-realistic synthetic voices for audiobooks replacing human narrators. HarperCollins may call these moves innovation. I call it turning their back on creative who put those billions of dollars in their pockets. I think it's also important to think about why the publisher has started AI translation with romance. The genre is largely written, translated, and read by women. Ding, ding, ding. The publisher is possibly assuming this female audience is an easy target while failing to value the work of the female creators. The publisher has likely targeted this genre with the belief that its readers either won't care or won't notice, which is disrespectful to not just the readers, but the writers and translators who have built this genre. It also signals a serious lack of respect from the publisher for the stories and the books that have built their catalogs. And something to think about, if the backlash to this isn't heard or seen by the publisher, this could expand to other genres. This is why pushing back matters, whether you are a romance reader or not, because no matter the genre, we're all in this together. So while I didn't necessarily intend for this to become a whole rant against HarperCollins, I do feel compelled to remind those of you who know and inform those of you who don't that a few short years ago, HarperCollins union workers went on strike after contract negotiations were unsuccessful. They are the only major publisher with unionized employees, and their union dates back 80 years, so that part's great, I guess. From the New York Times article published October 10th, 2022, it says, HarperCollins workers strike for better pay and benefits. Employees say they'll not return to work until they have a new contract. The company says it will continue to negotiate in good faith. Unionized employees at HarperCollins went on strike Thursday, saying they plan to stop working until they reached an agreement on a new contract. The HarperCollins union represents about 250 employees in editorial, publicity, sales, marketing, legal, and design. In a statement, the union said its members who have been working without a contract since April wanted better family leave benefits and higher pay. Olga Brudastova, the president of Local 2110 of the UAW, which represents unionized HarperCollins employees, said that the union has decided to go on an indefinite strike after negotiations with the company stalled. The union is proposing that HarperCollins raise the minimum starting salary to $50,000 from $45,000. It has also demanded that the company address the lack of diversity in the workforce. Publishing has long been a low-paying industry with long hours for its entry and mid-level employees, and it is based in New York, a very expensive city. It's also an overwhelmingly white industry, and many in the industry feel the low pay is part of what makes diversifying the industry difficult, which is something that deserves a much louder conversation, with the article going on to say, a recent report from PEN America, a free speech organization, said that according to company data, 75% of employees at Penguin Random House were white as of last year, as were more than 70% of employees at Macmillan and 65% of employees at Hachette. Those concentrations were even higher among senior managers. Further into the article, it reads, last month, the publisher announced it was laying off a small number of employees as part of a cost-cutting effort. The union filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board in response, Brudastova said, noting that 6 of the staff members who lost their jobs were union members. Some authors, booksellers, and agents took to social media to announce their support for the strike. Michelle Hawk, a literary agent, said on Twitter that she would not submit any new manuscripts to HarperCollins until the strike is settled. Several authors who published with HarperCollins, including Micah Nemeriver, author of the novel These Violent Delights, and Cherish Reed, author of Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up, spoke out in support of the strike on Twitter. One HarperCollins debut author, Sarah Ruiz Grossman, posted a message she had sent to the company in support of the strike. The books I love to read and write would not exist in the world without the essential work of these publishing workers. On February 9th, 2023, HarperCollins and the Local 2110 came to a tentative agreement, which was later voted in by the membership, with key highlights being starting salary increasing from $45K to $47.5K, with increases the following 2 years, filing up to 2 overtime hours per week without manager approval, and a one-time $1,500 payout for current members. As of today, February 4th, 2026, the contract has expired and they are in negotiations once again. So I am sending all the best to the Local 2110 members as they fight for what they deserve. If it's not clear, I am a huge supporter of unions and a proud member of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants. So if you're interested in me doing a whole video on unionizing efforts in publishing, maybe going back and talking more about that diversity issue, let me know. Kind of niche, but like I would watch it. So while that is not related to AI translation, it is another example of HarperCollins undermining and undervaluing the people who make the company worth anything at all. And I will leave you to decide what you want to take away from all of that. Sorry this video is kind of all over the place, but I hope that you did get something out of it. So authors are a vital part of the bookish community, so try to support them wherever you can, even if that's just a follow on social media, it all helps. If you'd like the chance to be featured as an indie author on my videos, there is a form down in the description, and I actually posted a new form. So if you have submitted in the past, please do it again. The Google form was linked to an email I no longer have access to, and it's a whole thing, so the new one will be linked below. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. Check out my Bindery page if you'd like to support me over there. I did just announce our book club for February. It is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I would love to have any or all of you join. So you can find more information over on Bindery, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!